I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Bring a date, your squad, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
And some big news just coming in from the Supreme Court. Judge Weinberg, what are you getting there?
In a case that's coming from the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, the Supreme Court is going to review that case, and the question is what kind of time limits you can place on the federal government holding illegal aliens in custody. It's a big, big case, and I'd love to hear what Director Lyons has to say.
So they're going to review it. In other words, they're agreeing to hear the case.
Absolutely right.
That's an interesting. So let's. Perfect.
The Supreme Court as well, or the Appeals Court as well need to hear it?
No, the Supreme Court's going to hear it.
That's interesting. So it's, and who brought the case? What was the precipitation of the case?
Illegal aliens being detained.
Saying that they were there too long,
right? And
now that is going to be heard by the Supreme Court. Wow!
Because the Second Circuit kept talking about due process rights, and the question is, what do you mean by due process? How much process are they due, and what's the length of time?
Right. And again, these are illegal immigrants in our country.
Right.
Okay. So let's go to Director Todd Lyons, the former acting director of ICE. Director, this news just broke. This is interesting. How do you read this?
Yeah, no, Rita, thanks. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You especially during my tenure, there was a lot of talk about due process and, what we afforded, illegal aliens that were in our custody. One thing that I always wanted to point out to everybody was ICE always held individuals in custody for removal, not for punitive reasons. So we never wanted to hold people long enough, just long enough to get rid of them, right? We wanted to make sure we gave them their right. They have the chance to see a judge. If they aren't here long enough, they're not supposed to be here legally. We have to get rid of them. They got to go back to their home country. So we do a great job of making sure that they see a judge timely. But the fact of the matter is they're here illegally. So I'm happy that the Supreme Court's going to take a good look at this, because a lot of times there are so many illegal aliens that love to run the clock out and love to use certain circuits that are, if we could say, non-citizen friendly or very left-leaning, and will love to run the clock out a lot of these things, and they get a chance to another bite at the apple and get a chance to stay. So I like the fact that the Supreme Court's taking a look at this, and we'll get a good final ruling, and the court will make the ruling, and it'll be good for us going forward. We'll have a final say.
Exactly. There's some clarity at least on it.
38 different federal judges deciding every other day.
Right. That's a good point, too. How much has the lawfare affected you, too? That's a great point, John.
The whole strategy is to try to block up the system, jam up the system.
Yeah. And you're right. The worst part is we've seen it so many times where people will judge shop or circuit shop, and that's really not how you do law enforcement, right? It's the rule of law, how the law is written, and it shouldn't go off one person's interpretation, and you shouldn't do it by one class or another. It should just be the way it's written, and I'm really looking forward to how the Supreme Court's going to rule on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, some major developments coming in finding these missing kids that were brought over during the Biden administration, the wide open southern border. There were close to 450, I think, thousand, as you know, better than anybody. And I saw that we've located the Trump administration. Thank goodness is located. It's 145,000. That still makes a couple 100,000 that they haven't found. This is so horrible. And the Democrats are silent on this. When you hear what happens to these kids, Director Lyons, it's horrible. I mean, the sexual assault and the human trafficking, these kids and people pretending to be sponsors and they weren't sponsors, slave labor. I mean, just the most horrific stories ever. And yet Democrats aren't saying a word about it.
No, and you know what? Acting Attorney General Todd said it best. When you have a porous border, an open border, the most vulnerable are affected. And that's truly what happened to these kids. And that's the sad thing. We saw so many NGOs, non-governmental organizations sponsored by our own government that were taking advantage of these children. And Rita, to your point, these super sponsors taking in 12, 16 kids, not even knowing who their parents were, not even knowing any blood relatives, bringing these poor kids across the border. Border Patrol agents saw these kids come across the border with a, if found, with a name and phone number pinned to their sweater or their shirt, right? And we don't know where those kids went. And yet it was a government subsidy that we were paying these NGOs to take these children off our hands from CBP and Border Patrol, and we never kept accountability. Luckily, Secretary Mullen and AG Blanche were able to come out and say, hey, we located 146,000, but there are so many other kids out there that we don't know what happened to them. It could be child labor trafficking, could be child sex trafficking. We just don't know what happened to these poor kids.
It is absolutely horrific. There is no doubt, and everybody should be concerned about it. And bravo for finding 146,000. That is a really enormous feat. Director Todd Lyons, we'd love having you on. Thank you for always joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you so much.